Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we are discussing the CR-1 and IR-1 visa categories. We're specifically discussing this in the context of fees, and this is attorney's fees as well as the government processing fees. I get a fair number of inquiries where I just get like one-line inquiries which just say, what's your fee for processing this kind of visa, in this case an IR-1 visa or a CR-1 visa? And that's it. They just send me that and that's all they say. Well, that's not enough context. I need to, generally speaking, I like to talk to prospective clients. I like to get an assessment of their overall factual situation. I need to understand and assess the overall factual situation of the couple's relationship, how they met, the circumstances under which they got married. I need to understand all this stuff. Also, I need to understand the beneficiary situation, and I need to understand the criminal history of both the petitioner and the beneficiary, and any immigration history that the beneficiary has had. All of this has a tremendous bearing on the processing of a case. Especially here in Thailand, there's been this sort of notion in the collective consciousness here in Thailand amongst the sort of the expat community and the folks that travel here frequently, that visas to the United States are just sort of a fixed rate endeavor. And there was a time when routine cases, I think, could be quoted in a much more fixed rate way. In fact, there was a time when routine cases I quoted in a much more fixed rate way. The Trump administration is not those times. We are not in the same period with respect to immigration that we were in the past. And this administration has done a number of things to the administrative processing apparatus to create obstacles that simply did not exist in these routine cases and non-routine cases in the past. Moreover, the overall context of the case can have an impact on how the case is going to process. And I also find it very disingenuous of a lot of these, unfortunately, a lot of these fake lawyers and fake law firms and just total fraud sort of visa services, whatever you want to call them, that are all over the internet. They're definitely in the Thailand internet ecosystem, which basically claim to be able to, without even talking to a client, without even talking to petitioners, they're just saying it's X amount, this fee for this service. Anybody that's quoting you a fee for an immigration service that hasn't spoken to you, that hasn't ascertained your situation, that doesn't understand where your beneficiary stands, his or her posture with respect to the processing or the prospect of an immigration case, that should be viewed with, in my opinion, a great deal of suspicion. And again, I've pointed this out in other videos. Pursuant to 8 CFR 292.1, it's clear only an attorney can charge fees associated with U.S. immigration matters. So filing cases representing clients, fake lawyers can't even represent clients. And these so-called visa services that just fill out forms. I mean, what are you even doing? What's the point? You can fill out the forms yourself if that's all you're looking for a service to assist you with. That's nothing, in my opinion, to particularly pay for. That being stated, I think it's important to note that anybody, and I do know different attorneys do things differently, and there was a time when I could, with much more regularity, quote fees in a much more uniform manner. That time has passed. We are not living in that era with respect to immigration anymore. The Trump administration, especially with changes to what's called the public charge rule, changes to just the overall way they process things, how they throw curveballs at you throughout the process. We're at a point in time where I think you should be looking upon anybody that's just saying, oh, you want a US IR-1 visa or you want a CR-1 visa, it costs X. And they haven't even spoken to you, you're just looking at that on a website. That needs to be viewed with an extreme amount of, in my opinion, some suspicion, but it also should be being viewed with an overabundance of caution, because going into dealing with somebody that's just quoting you without even knowing the facts of your case, that is somebody that I think you probably are not going to be dealing with somebody who, A, knows what they're doing. Competence is certainly an issue, but also they may be somebody that's just going to go through the motions. They may know you might not be even eligible for the visa you're seeking. In this case, we're making a video about IR-1 or CR-1 visas, but they may know you might not even be eligible for that visa, and they're just going to take your money and run through the process anyway. That's not somebody you want to deal with. So the thing to take away from this video, anybody who's quoting you fees, it's not an exercise of trying to jack up the fee on you or trying to raise the fee. Most of the fees I quote are pretty uniform, but there are cases that come up, for example, prior criminal history, prior immigration problems, etc., where we have to charge a differentiated fee because the factual circumstances are different and we have to deal with that in a different manner. So the thing to take away from this video, first of all, use somebody who's licensed. We're always happy to provide information about our licensure. I'm an American attorney, as noted. I'm licensed in the Supreme Court as well as other courts in the United States. So one thing is licensure. The other thing is, approach with caution. Anybody that, without ever talking to you, is providing a fee quotation, because how do they know? You could have and it doesn't happen utterly often, but I have cases where it's like, wow, this is a really atypical set of circumstances, and we have to quote an atypical fee because it's just simply, it's not something that's going to process through the apparatus in the same way. We're going to be dealing with X amount of issues and having to provide X amount more explanation in this case than we otherwise would. So again, the thing to take away from this video is fee quotations are not, especially differentiated ones, are not they're not an exercise in trying to jack up their prices. It's an exercise in trying to narrowly tailor services and costs to the actual factual situation of your case.